Part 100. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1000. Latest website. Sean walked around the company and was not optimistic about the current status of the branch. The threshold for going abroad was to be able to speak English. This threshold blocked many experienced managers from the door. Today's employees are young people with little experience. Foreign markets are more complex and they are not equipped to deal with these things. After staying in the company for 2 hours, Gao Noibian and Huang Mao went downstairs with notebooks and notes in their hands. Sean said to them, "These problems are fatal in company management. We will observe them later when working in a company. If you see similar problems in internal management, you must pay more attention." The two nodded in agreement. Regarding GFN Electronics branch, their evaluation was that the internal management was chaotic, the quality of the personnel was not strong, and there was no market target. The entire company was like a headless fly. London covers an area of 1,500 square kilometers, which is the size of a larger county in China. A larger place is divided into 22 districts, with the Thames River as the dividing line, and the financial city as the core area of the city. Taking the bus towards the outer ring, we were approaching the suburbs in less than an hour. Lu Feng took 7 or 8 people to the agricultural product distribution area. This is the place with the cheapest prices for various products in the city. It mainly wholesales. The products are gathered from all over the country and even overseas, and then distributed to major supermarkets. Therefore, most of the people who shop here are poor and elderly. The elderly do not go to work, but drive or take the subway to buy groceries. The large parking lot outside the distribution area was already full of cars. Lu Feng looked at many elderly people walking around pushing shopping carts and loading things into their cars. "Everyone, come here," Lu Feng called everyone together and ordered, "Today is also an opportunity for everyone to practice speaking. The main task today is to investigate their daily lives and what they usually do. If you can get it for free, the total value of one thing, from eggs, milk powder, chicken, seafood and other food to daily necessities, cannot exceed £10, do you understand? Know it? We agreed to meet here in 2 hours." Lu Feng also started to work on his own. Not far away, a man in his 50s or 60s came over pushing a trolley. Lu Feng walked towards him with a smile on his face. He smiled and said, "Hello, I work for a newspaper and want to do a small investigation." The man stopped, looked at Lu Feng, and raised his eyebrows with interest. "Oh haha, of course I'm happy to. What do you need most in your life now?" Lu Feng asked him first. The man pouted, thought for a moment and said, "Of course I need a handsome guy like you." Lu Feng felt that the atmosphere was a bit strange and said hurriedly, "If I gave you a free gift within £10, what would you choose?" "Chicken, eggs, milk powder." Before Lu Feng finished speaking, the old boy fired his electric eyes at him and interrupted, "How about eating chicken at my house tonight? Look at my chicken, it's so big." Lu Feng saw the studs in his ears and hurriedly found an excuse to walk away. Then he interviewed several older men, and all of them were very interested in Lu Feng without exception. "Damn it, did I go abroad?" Lu Feng looked speechless and stood there cursing, "I don't know, I thought I was in Dongdan Park." Lu Feng glanced at the crowd, this time he aimed at a blonde woman in her 40s, walked up and said, "Hello, madam, if I gave you a free gift within £10, what would you choose? Chicken or eggs, milk powder?" She looked at Lu Feng and nervously grabbed the handle of the trolley. There were some promotional products inside, not many, and said, "I don't want to buy anything, so you don't need to sell it to me. It's not a sales pitch." "We are a newspaper, doing a simple survey," Lu Feng asked. "It's okay, I need all 3 of these," she said, seeing Lu Feng's depressed expression. "I'm divorced now, and I have a 2-year-old child. I just lost my job the day before yesterday. I really don't know what to do now. Manage. It will get better. Lu Feng comforted, we will have an event in a few days. You don't need to do anything. If you go, you can receive a gift worth 10 pounds. I can contact you then. Really? Her eyes were slightly red, she looked at Lu Feng and kept saying thank you. Because the phone at home was out of service, she left her neighbor's phone number. In one afternoon, Lu Feng interviewed hundreds of people. From their lifestyles to their recent status, he got a simple understanding. Most of the people who come to the market to buy daily necessities are people from rural towns and villages in the suburbs. The situation is very bad, some work on farms, breeding farms, and factories, while others are servants in suburban villas. There are many unemployed people. The rich are really rich and the poor are really poor. Many people get divorced in middle age and lose their jobs. They are struggling to survive. Consumerism is prevalent among young people and excessive consumption is a common situation. It was already evening when we returned to the company. In the past 2 days, everyone had moved out of the hotel and rented an apartment not far away. There were 2 people per room. The conditions were pretty good. Lu Feng also lived there. At around 7 o'clock in the evening, after a simple meal, everyone in the conference room summarized the situation. The flyers had been made. Lu Feng looked through them and determined that one of them was relatively simple and elegant and would be officially produced tomorrow. In the conference room, Lu Feng looked through the interviews compiled in front of him. Different from the situation in China, it was not eggs, chicken, or milk powder, but fast food vouchers. They preferred not to do anything and just go and eat with the vouchers. Pause. Everyone, please be quiet. You can gain a lot in one day. Without a survey, you have no right to speak. The results of today's interview survey came out. The thing that attracts middle-aged and elderly people the most is fast food vouchers, so we have to change our strategy. Tomorrow officially connect with fast food restaurants such as KFC, McDonald's, and Burger King to negotiate prices. It is best to be close to the venue so that everyone can eat after leaving the venue. Lu Feng told the marketing department, it's best to get one for a set meal, for example, negotiate with them for 7 pounds for a big burger, a fries, a Coke, etc. Instead of writing the price on the voucher, we can advertise the value to the outside world, which will be more attractive. The flyer also needs to be changed, and the hotel should be located closer to the main crowd. This is our first event, so the price per customer, we can pay up to 10 pounds, that is, if the fast food voucher is talking about 5 pounds, the remaining 5 pounds can be used to buy some other gifts. Lu Feng said to everyone, write it on the flyer and I will give you 20 pounds when you come. The meeting was still going on at 8:30 in the evening, and Lu Feng had to teach him step by step, thinking about everything in detail. Everyone who came was bought with money, so they must leave their contact information and be there as much as possible. The first order retains more people. At this moment, everyone present was still focused on direct sales regarding Lu Feng's plan. Everyone believed that they should use things to attract people first and then sell the products. I was busy until after 11 o'clock in the evening when I got off work. Everyone in the company felt very tired. I will go to work on time at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. The marketing department will continue to go out to explore the market. The next day, at 10 o'clock in the morning, a stack of leaflets was placed on Lu Feng's desk. The style was extremely simple. The most outstanding one was that if you come to the Kelly Hotel, you will get 20 pounds for free. Li Ziasi put 5 or 6 folders on the table and said to Lu Feng, Mr. Lu, the hotels, vehicles, and flyers have been booked. These are financial applications, and you have to sign them. Okay, I get it. Lu Feng took a folder and looked through it. This hotel is quite good. After reading the introduction, Lu Feng found that this hotel can actually drive the car directly to the stage. He raised his head and looked at Li Ziasi and said, are you sure the car can be driven directly to the stage? I'm not sure, Li Ziaxi said hurriedly, I'll go ask. A few minutes later, Li Ziaxi came back and said he could drive the car in, but he would have to pay extra. This money can be spent. How long will it take for the flyer to be produced? Can it be done tomorrow? Lu Feng asked. I'm not sure, Li Ziaxi said awkwardly. You don't know anything. Let me ask you, why don't you go there? I don't have a phone here. Lu Feng raised his head and stared at her and said, you can't do this as a secretary. You have to take me into consideration in everything go in front. I'll study as much as I can. Li Ziaxi lowered his head and said. Go and ask, there are only 3 days left. Let the people in the marketing department hurry up. They will need to recruit enough people by then. After the leaflets are produced, hire people to distribute them. They also have to go. They will go to work in the morning. Lu Feng said solemnly. Li Ziaxi agreed and was about to go out. Lu Feng suddenly thought of something and said, wait a minute, let the marketing department find a few beauties, blonde, blue-eyed and good-looking ones, 4 or 5 will be enough. Ah, Li Ziaxi didn't react to Lu Feng's request for a moment. He was stunned for more than 10 seconds, and countless possibilities were reflected in his mind. Is he too tired these 2 days? Want to relax and unwind? Or want to experience the ocean horse? Li Ziaxi felt that his opportunity had come, and he mustered up the courage to say, I can do it? Huh, Lu Feng didn't understand this time and stared at her. She seemed to be okay with it and said, you count 1, just find 3 or 4 more. Save as much as you can. Please work hard, just do the things I tell you first. Li Ziaxi left the office door and stood at the door still unable to react. Looking for 3 or 4 more people. Is it harder to find so many people? The look on Li Ziaxi's face was already a bit unbelievable. In the United States, the club established by GFN Electronics has been found out, banned as an illegal organization, and fined $200,000. After Liukin got the news, he immediately tried his best to contact the top students from major universities in the club and try his best to win them over to go abroad. The competition for talents began. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1001. Latest website. After discussing the matter within the group, they still chose to communicate with Lu Feng. After all, he was in charge of the whole process. The most important thing was that both Liukin and other senior executives were afraid of the matter getting bigger. Once R/U0026D companies are affected in other countries, it will be fatal to this year's R/U0026D progress. In the evening, Liukin and 2 vice presidents dialed Lu Feng's phone number in the office. The call was picked up by the secretary's office and then transferred to the internal line. Which one? Lu Feng picked up the phone and asked. Mr. Lu, it's me. Something unexpected happened here. The club in the United States was revoked and fined $200,000. Liukin briefly explained the situation. Lu Feng was not surprised by this incident and said into the phone, as long as this matter is handled properly, we can recruit as many talents as we can. All activities in the United States will be stopped and we will focus on deploying in places like Fuzhou and Europe, and at the same time focus on activities at the top 100 universities in the world. How is the start of this year's layout? We are already actively decentralizing funds. Ruxin Laboratory is expected to add about 100 people this year and add 2 R/U0026D centers in the country. We have recently been discussing with 2 companies in Fuzhou about setting up a transit R/U0026D center in Thailand. Center, we can communicate on film capacitors and inductors, and they are mainly interested in Nokia. It doesn't matter. If you can get technology by selling Nokia, that would be the most suitable. Are they allowed to cooperate with us in China? Lu Feng asked. This is also the problem. Now a group of companies led by Sony are very unfriendly to us, but some companies represented by Rome Group want to cooperate with us. Mainly because we have money, plus they are hostile to Nokia and Europe. We are very interested in the communication technology, and the two sides are very guarded against each other. We have become an intermediary link. Lyokin smiled and said, when I talked to them on the phone, they all said that your relationship with Nokia is extraordinary, and they also convinced. It's okay, as long as it is conducive to your work, and as long as their chairman has a daughter, I am obligated. You can brag to them. Nowadays, there are more frequent scientific and technological exchanges between Fuzhou and the United States. European companies such as Nokia and Siemens have not yet relatively communicated with each other. There are so many, everyone is working hard to develop, we must learn to find the middle ground. Lu Feng pondered for a moment and said, for some engineers, you can win over them when you need to. There are not so many rules in the world, so let's let go, do you understand? Don't worry, Mr. Lu, I will definitely be willing to spend money. Lyokin didn't quite understand. You just need to find some powerful people who have been squeezed out due to internal struggles, and recruit them to set up a laboratory on their own. For some people in charge, just go to Pattaya as a treat. If you love money, just go there. Don't be vague about giving money. Lu Feng asked very straightforwardly, do you understand? Lu Cheng was a little dumbfounded on the other end of the phone. Besides going to Pattaya, wasn't this just a way to win over him? Mr. Lu, this is not good. We are all senior engineers and well-known people in the world. Lyokin felt that this was more damaging to others no matter how much he thought about it. Reputation. Forget it, you don't have to do this. Is Zhu Lidong in the company? Lu Feng asked. Here you are, I'm at the headquarters now, are you looking for him? Call him and ask him to come over. 10 minutes later, Zhu Lidong knocked on the door and walked in. He said to the phone, Mr. Lu, are you looking for me? Find someone smarter and join the R/U0026D company, mainly doing reception work. Do you understand? Lu Feng asked. Zhu Lidong was stunned for a moment and then reacted and said, no problem, don't worry, if no one goes, I will personally receive them when I am free. Don't just jump in when you see a bargain. Find someone who can speak English. Leave the technical aspects to Lyokin and leave the reception to them. The budget is sufficient. Do you understand? Lu Feng asked. Understood. Understood, Zhu Lidong grinned after saying that. I really don't know who is so lucky to fall into the oil tank of the R/U0026D company. Has there been any progress in technology recently? Lu Feng asked Lyokin. It would be best if there is good news in the first half of the year, so that the pressure on my side can be reduced. I haven't even had dinner with John since arriving in London. Mr. Lu, you can rest assured that there will definitely be breakthroughs in two directions in the first half of this year. They are still experimenting. One is integrated circuit coding technology. We are already applying for relevant global patents. The other is wafer technology. Basically, we can be close to the world's first-class technology. In terms of communications, this year with Ruxin Laboratory as the core, there will be related technological outputs, especially in base station signal enhancement. We have already made a good accumulation. Now 6 major projects are in progress, but 3 projects have failed. Lyokin thought of something and hurriedly said, the communication patents are jointly owned by us and Nokia. Okay, I'm waiting for your good news. This year we must achieve both communications and integrated circuit development. In comparison, the US drive is not so important, but we still can't give up. Contact some international organizations to spend more time. Pay some money, organize them to communicate with China, and take advantage of the communication time to promote the company's philosophy. Understand? Lu Feng ordered. This matter can be done for relevant majors in universities around the world. Don't worry, Mr. Lu, our marketing department will handle this matter, Zhu Lidong replied. That's it for now. I'm a little busy here. If anything happens, I'll let you know in time. Okay, then you get busy first. Goodbye, Mr. Lu. Zhu Lidong stood aside and said in a sweet voice. After hanging up the phone, Zhu Lidong looked at Liukin and said, leave the reception to us, why don't you give me some money? If we go out to eat, drink, have sex, and do whatever we want, it's all money. Your R/U0026D company has a sufficient budget, so give it to us first. How about spending tens of millions of dollars? Why should I give you money? Liukin said, a little unhappy. I still want us dollars. Because we are dealing with international affairs, I won't bully you. How about we allocate a budget of 10 million US dollars from the finance department to our marketing department? Isn't this price a good deal? Zhu Lidong's face was full of profiteers. With a look like that, he put his hands on the table and said, I'm not asking for your money, I'm using your money to do your things, do you understand? Liukin didn't know how to refute, but he just felt that giving money was not good and felt uncomfortable. He held it in for a while and said, I'll call Mr. Lu and ask. Okay, Zhu Lidong said hurriedly, don't bother him. How much will it cost for the reception? Let's go to the finance department to calculate it. I'll get off work first. Lao Lu, you are such a big man. If anything happens, just report it to Mr. Lu. How old are you? How old is he? Right. Liukin looked at him and said, I will tell Mr. Lu this. You, Zhu Lidong was so angry that he lost his temper and said, you were probably a guy who reported to the teacher when you were in school. I'll get off work first and leave. Lu Feng looked through the folders in front of him and approved them one by one. Now that he had the approval authority for the entire company, his workload doubled. Yesterday, more than 20 new locals were recruited, and the wages were not low. The preliminary preparations were almost done. All that was left was to distribute flyers. I don't know how many people will be attracted in the first session. Lu Feng put the folder aside and suddenly saw the contact information the single mother had given him. He picked it up and looked at it for a while, then called the phone number on it. Who is it? A harsh female voice came from the other end of the phone. I would like to ask, is Louise your neighbor? Lu Feng asked. Yeah, what's wrong? The voice on the other end of the phone was quite dissatisfied, as if this woman was tired of Louis leaving her home phone number. Please tell her that there will be an event on the 3rd floor of the Sheraton Hotel next Monday. If you invite her to participate, just say that she was invited by the Asian man you met at the vegetable market, Lu Feng said. Okay, I understand. After saying that, the woman hung up the phone. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Sean came again. He had been quite diligent in the past 2 days, inquiring back and forth among various departments of the company. He already knew almost everything about Lu Feng's promotional activities, such direct sales activities. Too many people have already done it, and the efficiency is slow. In total, the cost of investment is not low. There was a knock on the office door. Lu Feng said, "Come in." Sean opened the door and walked in. He walked in without saying a word, walked to the sofa and sat down. Huang Mao took out a cigar and lit it, and the three of them posed opposite Lu Feng. "Are you three free?" Lu Feng asked Huang Mao. "Ask him, are you free? We will provide you with corresponding consulting value. We are also inspecting your company during this period. Our boss has a systematic understanding of what you have been busy with recently." Huang Mao stared at Lu Feng and said, but this package is not within the salary range." When Lu Feng heard this, he put down the pen on his hand and wondered, what's going on? Do you have services other than the package? Sean took a sip of his cigar and said to Huang Mao, "Tell him that this direct sales method is too inefficient, and there are also problems with the people he is targeting, and their purchasing power is low. If this plan does not last more than 2 months, it will definitely not be implemented. I can try to give him a direct sales plan that suits the national conditions here, but I don't have much confidence in this aspect. After all, the market is here. After Lu Feng listened, he frowned and said, "Tell me, you earned so much money from me, and you just brought a few folders, and now you have to charge extra. As for my set of things, I think it can work, and very capable. If you don't believe it, let's make a bet." What to bet on? How to bet? Sean became interested. Seeing his interest, Lu Feng couldn't help but grin. How could he earn so much money here? He said, "If my plan goes ahead, you will lose. I promised you before the salary is gone, so you work for me for free. If it can't be implemented, I will use your plan, double your salary, and I will buy your plan at a high price. How about it?" After hearing this bet, Sean laughed loudly, pointed at Lu Feng with the cigar in his hand and said, "Young people don't know how high the sky is, so I bet." Latest website. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1002. Latest website. When Lu Feng heard that he had made a bet, he felt instantly relieved. His plan was very executable. After all, he was using things from the future to reduce dimensionality in this era. Lu Feng was still very confident. Originally, Lu Feng was not happy with Sean's high salary, but now he has a chance to take it back. 10 minutes later, a simple gambling agreement was placed on the table. Lu Feng picked up the company's official seal and stamped it. He handed the pen to him and said, "Sign it. You will do what you say, and you can't cheat." Sean asked Huang Mao to translate the terms of the agreement, confirmed that there was no problem, signed his name, stamped it with his personal seal, and said, "I can still afford this money, but you'd better do it. I'm prepared to pay double my salary." With this direct sales model, the customer acquisition cost is very expensive and uncertain, and it will cause great damage to the brand. "I know you are a professional, but it's a pity that I am not a professional." Lu Feng picked up the agreement and took a look at it. After making sure that it was okay, he handed the other part to him and said, "You also plan to work for me for free." Professional managers are like today's Eastern Kung Fu, all using tricks. There is an old saying in China, which is to beat the master to death with random punches. Just watch how I beat these people to death. Sean laughed when he heard such crazy words. Lu Feng was definitely young and ignorant. The European market is integrated and the products of multiple countries are very complementary. No one company can dominate the market, especially in Europe now. In the market, when products from outside come in, even if you have the magic to deal with them, there is nothing you can do. What's more, GFN is a company with average technology accumulation. Since you are so crazy, I will calculate the time for you. 3 months. You will definitely not be able to survive after 3 months. If you do it badly, you won't be able to use it for a month. Xiao An gave Lu Feng this plan. The countdown is down. Okay, if I don't show it to you, do you really think that I'm just trying to get into Weigong village without even having a 3-axe? I have no other abilities but one ability, which is to sell straw as gold bars. Lu Feng looked at him and said, "There's no point in us just messing around here. You can stay here if you want. I have other things to do." Sean didn't waste any more words and went straight out for dessert with his 2 assistants. On the outskirts of London, in front of a slightly dilapidated house, a woman in her 40s knocked on the door and shouted, "Louise, are you at home?" A woman's voice came from the house, and then she opened the dilapidated door, looked at her neighbor, forced a smile, and said, "What's the matter?" "Mrs. Paul. Did you leave my home phone number?" Mrs. Paul asked. Louise looked a little nervous, clasped her hands together, and said cautiously, "I'm really sorry, my phone at home is down, and I have left your phone number in some recruitment places. Don't worry, I will wait until I find a job. Your phone bill will be reimbursed." "No need, someone called and asked you to attend an event on Sunday at the Khaled Hotel just entering the city." "This is the last call I want to tell you." Mrs. Paul turned around and left. Louise wanted to beg her to answer a few more calls for her, but the other party didn't listen to her at all. Louise leaned against the door and looked gray. This house was left by her ex-husband, and the food at home really couldn't sustain it. How long will it take for her to take care of her children and work to support her family? If there is no source of income in the next month, she and her children will have to make ends meet. If she can't find a job, she really doesn't know what to do. A 2 or 3-year-old child came out in a walker, babbling. "It will be fine, everything will be fine." Louise picked up the child, because no one was willing to recruit her with the child, and the child was a fatal injury to her. If there was no other way, she would have to sell the house, rent a house in the city, hire a nanny, and find a job. At her age, children are everything. Louise silently calculated the distance to Khaled, how much gas it would cost to go back and forth, and whether it was cost-effective. Fortunately, the distance was not too far. The next day, everything was basically ready. Except for a small number of people in each department of the company, everyone went out to distribute leaflets, focusing on cheap supermarkets, wholesale markets, and urban-suburban joints in the suburbs. The key groups were mainly women, 40 to 60 years old. Even Lu Feng changed his clothes today, put on a mask, and pulled a bunch of flyers to hand out flyers. Sean was really curious about how Lu Feng lost this time. He saw in Lu Feng too many young people who were trying to start a business for the first time. Perhaps out of curiosity, the three of them sat in Lu Feng's car just to watch the joke. "I think you should rent a better car, what do you think?" Huang Mao frowned as he looked at the 8-hand Jaguar. "This car is not rented, but a batch of cars were purchased together yesterday. This is a Jaguar and is not available in China." Lu Feng started the car and felt that it was indeed better than the domestic Jetta. "This is England." High Nose rolled his eyes and asked, "Why do you have to wear a mask?" "I'm going to hand out flyers, but I can't be recognized. After all, I have to give a speech on stage tomorrow." After saying this, Lu Feng felt that he might not be disguised enough, so he picked up the co-pilot's cowboy hat and covered his head. Sean covered his forehead with his hands and was speechless. He had served as a consultant for so many international companies, and Jiafeng was definitely the lowest one. With such a big hand, would you accompany him on the street to hand out leaflets? It's a bit ridiculous to say it. Sean has decided in his heart that he will never tell others that he has served as a consultant for this company. When others ask, he would rather say that he went to the Arctic for vacation this year. The car parked in the parking lot. Lu Feng got out of the car with a lot of flyers in his arms. He saw Sean and 3 people, all of whom were here. How could he not use free labor? "You each take a stack and distribute them at the 3 most popular places." Lu Feng didn't allow them to argue and stuffed a stack of flyers into each of them. "What? Fuck," Huang Mao shouted. "We're here, we're free anyway, let's do it." Lu Feng held the flyer and ignored them, walking towards the crowd. Sean was not for this kind of work. He threw the flyer on the butt of the car, leaned on the car and smoked a cigarette, staring at Lu Feng, who was handing out flyers and explaining something to people from time to time. The probability of success for such a person is about the same as the role played by Britain in World War II. He sighed while smoking a cigarette with a high nose. "Don't insult my country." Huang Mao stared at the high bridge of his nose unhappily. Sean smoked a cigar and watched Lu Feng handing out leaflets in the distance. He seemed to have discovered an advantage of this young man and said, "He still has advantages. He doesn't have the high-mindedness and low-handedness of young people. If it were an ordinary person, handing out leaflets would be like this. You don't want to do the work, you too need to learn this. Huang Mao and Gao Nose nodded humbly. After working for more than 2 hours, Lu Feng distributed a lot of flyers. After all, he was giving away things for free. This kind of good thing has a fatal attraction for ordinary people. Sean stood next to the car and watched at first, and then stood next to Lu Feng and found that he deliberately selected some women when selecting the crowd, those who were older and had little spending power. Wait a minute, you can't do this. The people you focus on all have no spending power, Sean said urgently to Lu Feng. With such a group of people selected, there will be a big problem in sales. After Huang Mao finished translating, Lu Feng looked at him and said, I don't plan to make money in the first game. I don't plan to make quick money. I need to take my time. If you don't understand, just stand aside and watch. Sean rolled his eyes wildly. He couldn't understand Lu Feng's operation at all. He was like a fool who was doing things according to his own fool's logic. Ordinary people couldn't figure it out no matter how fast they thought. As long as you are happy. I had a snack at noon and continued to distribute in the afternoon. Throughout the day, tens of thousands of leaflets were distributed from Lu Feng. In the evening, Lu Feng drove across the Thames River and felt that his whole body was about to fall apart. Sean and the other 3 have left in the afternoon, and he will go to the scene tomorrow to see the specific situation. It was easy to see from Sean's expression that he was baffled by Lu Feng's behavior. After all, he was the boss of an old friend. After Sean returned, he still called Kevin and told Lu Feng these things. Kevin told him on the phone that he only needed to do his job well. What can I say about Mr. Lu? He was not an ordinary person. He had his own wild ways. Kevin still has something in the world, otherwise Sean wouldn't be friends with him. After hearing this comment from an old friend, Sean always had the illusion that his salary might be gone. As night falls, the whole city is brightly lit. There is no overtime today. Everyone needs to go to bed early. They have to go to work at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. The venue officially starts at 9 o'clock and ends at 11:45. At 8 o'clock in the evening, a TV series was playing on the TV. Lu Feng had no intention of watching it. He was silently calculating in his mind the initial cost and how long it would take for the results to be effective. As long as he achieved certain results, he would immediately treat John to dinner. He still had to understand some of the local sects and needed the endorsement of a powerful force, otherwise some regulatory authorities would make Lu Feng very uncomfortable. Regardless of the fact that there is no movement in those 3 companies now, as long as Lu Feng makes some achievements, a fatal blow will definitely come like a torrential rain. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1003. Latest website. The next day, at 7 o'clock in the morning, Lu Feng got up on time, washed up, and put on a suit. After cleaning up and having breakfast, he arrived at the company before 8 o'clock. Many people had already arrived early. Everyone is still motivated, and Lu Feng also knows what these people want. He held a meeting with everyone when he was about to get off work yesterday. He said that if the company can stand here, everyone can stay, and they will be replaced as company executives later. Nationality is also easy to pass. Lu Feng clearly hit what everyone cared about the most. Today everyone's situation is obviously different. After going to the lowest level, everyone's illusions about developed countries began to be shattered. It turns out that the people at the bottom are also poor. There are also people living on the streets. Regardless of whether they are developed or poor countries, there are always some people who seem to have lived 100 years ago. This morning everyone put on custom-made suits, looking more elite. Lu Feng looked around, saw Li Ziasi, and said to her, "Everyone will be here soon. Let's inform everyone to hold a morning meeting, and then just set off. All preparations are done, don't make any mistakes." 10 minutes later, everyone gathered in the conference room. The space was not big. Everyone stood and whispered to each other. Lu Feng could feel that since these people came to London, even if they were talking to Chinese people, they would say, in English. I even heard that some people went to the coffee shop downstairs to chat with the clerk and practice their London pronunciation. As for these things, as long as they don't delay the business, Lu Feng doesn't bother to care about them. Not to mention now, even if someone comes back from abroad more than 10 years later, they will still say some foreign nonsense. Is everyone here? Lu Feng glanced at the time, it was 8:05, and said, time is tight. I said everything I should say yesterday. Today is our first game. We must do it well first. The registration work is to facilitate follow-up visits. Secondly, we must manage the order of the scene. Our people must stand today. What we need is momentum, drive the atmosphere, and take the lead in applauding. Yesterday, we also left it to everyone, and the applause must have a sense of rhythm. Pa, 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 pa. It's almost like this rhythm. The clapping should be harder, open my shoulders, and lead others to applaud. Thirdly, you have to convey a feeling to the people around you, that is, you have achieved success because of joining GFN. Have that sense of pride and pride. You used to be just like them, poor, miserable, and looked down upon by others. Now you are out of reach. It starts at 9 o'clock, and there is still 1 hour left. Practice on the road and get a feel for it. Vehicles, venues, and vouchers have all been arranged. Because there are a lot of people, we rented 2 buses and they will arrive together in a while. There is also the issue of music. Let's play some DJ then, you know. That's pretty much it. Manager Lee, you two should be responsible for the process. That's it, let's go. The on-site personnel walked downstairs. Lu Feng saw Li Ziasi wearing a suit. She looked really charming under her professional attire. Lu Feng took a look and asked, why are you wearing this? Li Ziasi felt a little embarrassed when Lu Feng stared at her, so she replied, isn't it a rule for everyone to wear suits today? You are different. By the way, have you made arrangements for the 3 foreign girls? Lu Feng asked her. It's arranged, you can do it at any time. Li Ziasi felt a little embarrassed. That's all right, you call them over, and you go and wear something sexy, and then wear high heels or something. Anyway, wear something thin. If you feel cold, you can wear a big coat outside, Lu Feng ordered. Now, Li Ziasi was shocked and at a loss for a moment, and replied, Mr. Lu, it's not too late. It will take them a while to get here, and it will take 20 minutes to get to the venue. It only takes a few minutes at most. Time is really tight, so let them go to the scene, Lu Feng said, still thinking about the rhythm of the entire event. Going to the venue, Li Ziasi could no longer imagine the absurdity of rich people and couldn't help but said, there are so many people. You need so many people? Otherwise, why are you looking for them? Hurry up, Lu Feng said to her, hurry up and change your clothes, and then take a car with me. This. Li Ziasi felt something was wrong and asked in a low voice, aren't you looking for them to solve that aspect? You are looking for them to appear with me. Lu Feng also felt that something was wrong, and said angrily, you, what are you thinking about? You won't find 3 people who lack morals and are pregnant. A woman with special skills who automatically attacks after inserting a coin, right? Li Ziasi's face was already red to the root of her neck, and she nodded bravely. Alas, Lu Feng sighed. It was too late to change now, so he had to say, let's make do with it for now. Go change clothes quickly. After changing clothes, the rented Rolls-Royce was already in place downstairs. Lu Feng got into the car and grabbed 2 more people. After all, he had to make the most of everything. Fortunately, the traffic jam was not serious. The car had arrived at the hotel entrance before 8:30. Lu Feng got out of the car and went directly to the backstage. The scene was proceeding in an orderly manner. Manager Li simply rehearsed 4 or 5 times, and Lu Feng gave some guidance. The temporary stage background board at the scene was a huge photo of Lu Feng, with a lot of group photos next to it. Various front page headlines were scattered around, with huge words written in English: "Success can be so simple." The host was still preparing the draft, and the time had already reached 8:45. Li Ziasi trotted over, lay down next to Lu Feng and said, "The 3 of them are here, do you want to rehearse for a while?" Lu Feng turned around and went backstage. 3 girls in their 20s were standing there. They were quite beautiful, with heavy makeup on their faces. They were about 1.7 meters tall, wearing short skirts and a tube top on their upper body. Or wearing a sling, smoking a cigarette in his mouth, standing there with no posture, no temperament, and feeling like a fast food item worth a few $100 many years later. "Okay. You 3, I hope you have some temperament and stand up straight," Lu Feng said to them. "Today's work is very easy. Just follow me on stage when it starts at 9 o'clock, and then just stand aside. At 11:30 you can get money, and it's still very easy to make money." One of the 36ds saw Lu Feng blowing out a puff of smoke and said, "It's not easy. We usually lie down. Standing is so tiring. Let me tell you, if you want to do it on stage, you have to pay extra. No, it's just a show. Don't think too much. Stand up straight and show off your temperament." Lu Feng clapped his hands and said to the 3 of them, "Lean on me to pose. Now I am a billionaire and you are the world's supermodels, you are very noble." The scene was in full swing, and there were already people standing outside. It was Wang Wang. Sean drove to the door of the hotel and was a little dumbfounded when he saw this situation. At a glance, he estimated that there were 300 to 500 people, and they were not all there yet. Woolen cloth. Are there so many poor people in the UK? Traveling so far just for 10 or 20 pounds, Sean said in shock when he got out of the car. Huang Mao and Gao Nose were also dumbfounded. In their eyes, there were no such poor people in this country. After all, the people they interacted with the most were the rich. Lu Feng can be said to have dug out the people at the bottom of this society. Siemens is a high-ranking aristocratic young man, Beko is a middle-class person, and Hailey is an ordinary bottom. Lu Feng has dug out the people at the bottom. These people Sean's business plan is completely ignored. After entering, Sean looked at the state of the scene and asked the 2 people around him, "How many goods do you think he can sell today? I'm afraid the sales are not even 10,000 pounds. After all, these people come here for the vouchers, and they will leave in a hurry after receiving them," Huang Mao said aside. We officially entered the venue at 9 o'clock, with more than a dozen people standing at the door to register, and then crowds of people poured in. In less than 10 minutes, the venue was already too full to sit down, and there were still many people standing in the last row. At 9:20, the host stepped onto the stage. Accompanied by the music, there was a particularly gorgeous meeting ceremony. He said in a London accent, "I am very happy to meet all distinguished guests at the venue of this 5-star hotel. Please everyone, be quiet for a moment. Next, I want to introduce today's topic to you." Someone at the scene had already started to ask the staff standing nearby when the vouchers would be given. The staff directly told him that he needed to listen to the speech and leave if he couldn't wait any longer. Louise was sitting in the middle seat. She looked at the surrounding environment, holding her child in her arms. Her mind was not here at all, thinking about applying for a job in the afternoon. Wealth is something that everyone desires. Why are some people poor and some rich in this world? Is it because you don't work hard? No, it has nothing to do with any of this. It's just because you haven't found the trick. There is such a password for wealth on Wall Street. Choosing the right path is far more important than hard work. There is another password to wealth in the financial city, and the rewards of doing risky things are often greater. We have gathered all the elites here today. We just feel that you have unlimited potential that can be tapped. You just lack an opportunity. Everyone is the same. When you go on the right path, wealth will be at your fingertips. What I tell you so much is not empty talk, but there is someone in this world who really has mastered such a code of wealth. He came to the mysterious East, where 5,000 years of business experience have been gathered. He was born in a poor family, but in an accident, I became a disciple of an Eastern Qigong master and started my own business at the age of 15. He became a millionaire at the age of 17, founded GMA Group at the age of 19, founded GFN Group at the age of 21, and stood at the pinnacle of wealth in the Eastern world at the age of 25, but he was very lonely. He said that one person's wealth it's a kind of loneliness and a huge failure. He began to summarize the laws of world wealth and preached it all over the world at his own expense. It was because he was born in poverty, so he understood the suffering of the poor better. Today's class is mainly for the poor. If there are people here who live a prosperous life, please leave. Mr. Liu doesn't welcome you. Okay, then let's give warm applause to welcome the mysterious master of Eastern Wealth Code, Qigong Master, GMA Group, GFN Group, the man who makes Wall Street tremble, Mr. Liu Feng, on stage. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1004. Latest website. A powerful DJ sounded at the scene, and the hosts started to applaud wildly. A row of GFN employees stood in the gaps between the seats, clapping their hands according to the original rhythm. The herd effect began to take effect, and many people at the scene joined in and clapped their hands along with the music. The three Shans standing at the entrance to the backstage had speechless expressions on their faces. What is this? It's so low-key and embarrassing. Amidst the music and applause, first two rows of employees wearing suits and sunglasses came out, escorting a Rolls-Royce. The lights flashed like a nightclub. The car drove directly onto the stage. The driver sat in the car and gritted his teeth. This is definitely the most rustic Rolls-Royce ever. The car door opened, and a white girl came out. She reached out towards the car. Liu Feng took her hand and walked out. Li Ziasi also walked out of the passenger seat. As the car drove away, Liu Feng shook his head and clapped his hands to the music. The scene was like a huge happy party. After clapping for a minute, Liu Feng reached out and led Li Ziasi and another woman beside him towards the center of the stage. The other two girls walked close to Liu Feng on the catwalk, looking particularly ambiguous. Disperse. Liu Feng whispered something, and the four women dispersed towards both sides of the stage. This set of movements was so smooth that Louise in the audience almost didn't recognize it. She stared at Liu Feng blankly at this moment, her mouth slightly opened. I didn't expect it to be him. At this moment, Liu Feng seemed to be glowing. He was wearing a high-end suit and his hair was covered with hairspray that would have caused splits if a mosquito touched it. Welcome friends to the venue today. I believe that the people who can sit here are definitely the wisest people in the UK. They have enough intelligence and a keen sense of wealth. Life needs a chance. You and the billionaire, the gap may be a small opportunity. Liu Feng stood in the center of the stage, with an upright figure and piercing eyes staring at the audience. He seemed to be the embodiment of confidence at this moment. He seemed to be born for this kind of stage. The host has just introduced me briefly. I believe everyone has a certain understanding. What do I do? Me. I am the spokesperson of wealth. I hold the key to the door of wealth, help you reach the ladder of wealth, and help you reach the peak of life. Let me ask you a question first, why are there poor people? Why are you poor? Everyone in the audience looked at me and I looked at you. Someone shouted, because I have no money. Because I didn't get a good pregnancy. Because I didn't study hard. Failed to seize the opportunity. The rich people in this world are always the same rich, but the poor are poor in all kinds of strange and diverse ways. What my friend just said was very good, that is, failing to seize the opportunity. People have 6 opportunities to reverse their destiny in this life. The first is birth, the second is study, the third is work, and the fourth is marriage. These 4 opportunities are all the same, they are personal development. What are the next 2 opportunities? They are the development of the times. I believe everyone knows that there are always a few examples like this around you. They have average families, average studies, average work abilities, and average partners. However, they just follow the opportunities of the times and become rich immediately, and then they live forever. Don't worry about eating and drinking. So how do you seize the opportunities given by the times? This is what I want to help you. 10 years ago, I was very poor. No one could look up to me. My relatives scolded me and my friends laughed at me behind my back. When I was at my poorest, with them I borrowed money for a meal, but they didn't give me a dime, and instead turned around and bought meat for their dog. 10 years later, I have become billionaire. They called me to beg me, but I didn't see them at all. Instead, they came here because my philosophy is that I won't see you when you are poor, and you don't deserve it when you are rich. I just want to help people at the bottom of society, help my former self. Many people at the scene had already begun to get excited. Lu Feng talked about this matter because he hoped to have the ability to empathize with everyone present in the shortest possible time. There is an angry voice hidden in the heart of every poor person, that is, you wait, 30 years in Hedong, 30 years in Hexi, and Lu Feng leads by example and fulfills such a wish for them. At this moment, we are together. I don't know if you have noticed that after World War II, around 1950, there was a global shortage of supplies. In the next 10 years, the global economy entered a period of rapid development. Countless billionaires were created in these 10 years. In 1960, from the 1970s to the 1970s, it was a period from peak to recession. In this decade, the economy was heading towards a boiling point. The sons of these billionaires began to take over, and the economy entered the next cycle. The period from 1965 to 1970 was an economic recession, but the second wave started immediately after 1970, reaching the peak of the economic cycle in 1980. I believe everyone knows that in the decade from 1980 to 1990, many countries around the world had economic problems, entering a period of decline. After Lu Feng finished speaking, he stopped talking and looked at everyone present with a smile. Some smart people were already looking at Lu Feng with shocked expressions, as if they had discovered a new world. The global economy has experienced 2 major ups and downs in the past 40 years, which can be said to have created 2 generations of global tycoons. Now in 1995, the global economy will recover again. We are standing at the forefront of the times. Who can seize the opportunity? If you seize this opportunity, you will become a billionaire in 10 years. Lu Feng looked at the people present and understood that these people couldn't wait 10 years. It would be best to get rich in half a year or even a few months. 10 years is a big cycle. I can find some niche industries within this big cycle. As long as you are not a fool, you can basically get the first pot of gold in your life in a short time. I have told you so much, I believe you are a little tired, so let's relax. No one among the rich in this world is nervous. You need to relax wholeheartedly. Only by being calm and unhurried can you face the waves. Follow me. Let's take a deep breath together. Lu Feng asked everyone present to take a dozen deep breaths, and then said loudly, everyone stand up, relax your souls, and applaud your outstanding selves together. Music, start. Everyone at the scene stood up. Lu Feng asked them to stand up just to test the obedience of these people. In the closed environment of the scene, Lu Feng was in control of the microphone. He was the output. Only by letting these people completely obey yourself unconditionally and do not allow any unnecessary questions or thoughts. Crazy clapping can also make people enter simple thinking, and the brain will not think too much, and clapping hard with both hands will cause the brain to secrete dopamine, creating an unwarranted feeling of pleasure. As the DJ started playing, everyone present looked at the people around them a little reservedly. Lu Feng stood on the stage and took the lead in applauding. The staff began to master the rhythm of clapping. In less than a minute, most people joined in. Their faces' happiness began to emerge, a simple happiness. The scene was like a demon, making it impossible to look straight at it. Sean was standing backstage and froze on stage. He couldn't understand what Lu Feng was doing. This is like a group of mentally ill people, Huang Mao couldn't help but said. The tall-nosed man nodded awkwardly in agreement. Only Lu Feng knew that he was taming these people at the scene, establishing communication with others through some simple actions, culture, and words, and slowly making these people only believe in himself. After 5 minutes of clapping, the eyes of everyone present began to glow. From the lackluster appearance at 9 o'clock to the excitement now, Louise stared at Lu Feng on the stage. She felt so excited and happy, as if the stage was full of excitement. The man on the bus pointed her to a golden avenue. As long as you believe in him unconditionally, you will succeed and you will no longer have any worries. The worries about life seem to disappear in an instant. What's a meal? What's the phone bill? What are the trivial money and difficulties in life? She is about to become a rich woman, making those who once looked down upon her bow their heads. After 5 minutes of clapping, Lu Feng shouted to everyone, "Get rich! Get rich! Suddenly rich! Suddenly rich! What are you going to do? Suddenly rich!" The people below shouted with their veins popping out, their eyes filled with madness, shouting out the depression in their hearts, and their voices were about to raise the roof. Sean's expression changed when he heard the deafening voice, and he said to himself, "He is so good at deceiving people." Okay. If you want to get rich quickly, you need to understand what I'm saying next. Everyone has an aura about them. Success is related to your state. If you are disgraced and depressed, you will be considered successful. Opportunities will pass you by. Think about it, if you had an opportunity at this moment, would you rather give it to a well-dressed person or to a beggar? In an absolute state of mind, you must first do everything that a rich man has. Then money will naturally come to you, and opportunities will come to you. You will seize it easily. Don't think about getting it from me today. Take away the code of wealth here, because without perseverance and perseverance, it is impossible to only think about the wealth that others give away. There is a truth that you must understand. Only with the paranoid pursuit of success will success come to you. There will definitely be a big wave of wealth in the next 10 years. Only those who dare to face the huge wave of the times can see the most beautiful rainbow. Lu Feng said sonorously and forcefully. The most hummed up thing in this world is that absolutely right principles are placed on a crooked path. See you next time. Lu Feng made a curtain call. The Rolls-Royce had already driven onto the stage. Surrounded by 4 beauties, they got into the car. Then they drove off the stage and the host came up. Thank you all for participating. I believe you will gain something after listening to Mr. Lu's class. Mr. Lu also knows that you are troubled by some small things in life. He is here to help you, so everyone can get it. A £10 fast food restaurant voucher, plus a £10 petrol voucher. I wish everyone can open the door to wealth as soon as possible. This Tuesday, 2 days later, we will still be here. Mr. Lu will explain to everyone the wave of wealth in the new era. There will still be £20 of supermarket vouchers available at that time. Please collect the vouchers at the door and exit in an orderly manner. Latest website. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1005. Latest website. Walking out of the magnificent hotel, the midday sun seemed a bit dazzling. Everyone had to raise their heads to take a look after walking out of the hotel door. This short morning made them feel a little dazed. In the few hours just now, Lu Feng opened a door for them, a door that they had never dared to think of. A poor person who lives a hard life. What he thinks about most when he opens his eyes every day is how to live a good week. Suddenly one day a successful person tells you that you don't have to live like this, and in the near future, you will have no worries about food and clothing. For a moment, life seemed less heavy and there was hope again. Hope, the most expensive thing in the world. For a person whose life has no end in sight, a little hope is the raging fire in his heart. Louise packed the vouchers in her hand and glanced at the child in her arms. She started the car, which was probably not much younger than her, and sped towards the fast food restaurant. She was going to apply for a job as a hospital nurse in the afternoon. A man in his 30s, wearing a gray sportswear, was sitting in the car still thinking about what he had just experienced inside. He had to admit that he was moved. How could this happen? Shouldn't he be selling goods? The man muttered, looking a little unbelievable, but he still took out his mobile phone and dialed a phone number. Beko Electronics. The phone rang in the general manager's office. George picked up the phone and said, "I'm George, what can I do?" General manager, it's me. GFN Electronics' first event has ended. Not bad, what's the gain? George asked casually, leaning on the chair. My hands are a little numb. Why are the hands numb? How many products did they sell? Or, when there was a product meeting, was there any media present? Paul asked. There is no media, no one, and no products. He taught everyone how to make money. He stood on the stage and talked for 2 or 3 hours. He said so many things. In summary, there seemed to be nothing nutritious. Everyone gave out 20. The pound voucher will be available in 2 days. Issuing vouchers, George was stunned. What kind of fun was this? After checking back and forth several times, George had no choice but to accept the reality. A man from the East traveled thousands of miles to come here to issue vouchers to poor people. What kind of spirit is this? Not only Beko's executives can't figure this out, but Sean can't figure it out either. If it were replaced by a group of people with purchasing power today, they would definitely be able to sell a lot of products based on the emotions Lu Feng aroused just now. Backstage, everyone was packing their things. They were paying what needed to be paid and tidying up what needed to be put away. Lu Feng was sitting on a chair smoking a cigarette, surrounded by Manager Li and Manager Lu. A total of £50,000 had been spent on this event. Almost 5 or 600,000 yuan. There are more than 800 people present today, which is the largest number of people this venue can accommodate. The price for a single person is more than £60. The relevant data were all handwritten by them in the notebook. Lu Feng took a look and said, "Just go back and make a form. The price per person can be lowered a little. The best is about £50. If it can be made under £50, it will be better, then we will make a profit with blood." When Manager Li and Manager Lu heard this, they looked at each other and were stunned. Making money with blood. What did you earn? I threw away £50,000 today, but I didn't even get a hammer back. The two of them didn't dare to ask any more questions and could only nod. Mr. Lu said that if you make money, you make money. Sean walked over from the side and stared at Lu Feng as he took a puff of his cigar. He now had a feeling in his heart that the young man in front of him was either a genius or a fool. There was no middle ground, because normal people couldn't do what they did today. Things come up. Lu Feng felt his gaze and raised his head to look, and said, "How do you feel after watching it today?" How should I put it? I feel like you look like a woman. Sean stared at Lu Feng and frowned slightly. After Huang Mao translated, he looked at Sean, not knowing what he meant. Lu Feng laughed and asked, "Can't you understand?" "I really don't understand, but I admit that you are very eloquent and are very good at sneaking concepts. I just want to know, what do you want to do?" "These people are really poor," Sean asked curiously. "Look at you, a typical traditional businessman's thinking. You will play with whoever has money in his pocket. Sometimes, you have to take care of the feelings of the poor. When you really take care of the poor will to create value for you." Lu Feng stood up and patted Sean on the shoulder and said, "To be honest, I am here to open the eyes of you traditional business consultants and professional managers." The scene was almost moved, and Lu Feng also walked towards the door. The Rolls-Royce had already driven away, and everyone took the bus back. Sean and the three of them stood there watching Lu Feng smoke and walk out the door. His back was very handsome. His high nose didn't understand what he just said, so he asked Sean, "Do you think he is sick?" "I don't know. If you fail, you are sick. If you succeed, then we are the ones who are sick," Sean said to the two of them. "Go back." On the bus, Li Ziasi put on a big coat and sat in the back row, surrounded by the three skilled women. Only the middle seat of the four was left in the bus. Lu Feng got in the car, and everyone took a look at the situation in the car. The young man in the front seat wanted to flatter him, so he stood up quickly and said, "Mr. Lu, sit here." Manager Li hurriedly pushed him down on his seat and said, "There is still a seat in the back." "It's okay, Mr. Lu, you sit here and I'll squeeze in," the young man said proactively. "Shut your mouth." Manager Li glared at him, looked at Lu Feng and said, "It's not far, so just squeeze in." "It's okay, just sit down," Lu Feng said to the young man, walked to the back and sat next to Li Ziasi, and asked, "Have the three of them settled their money?" "It's already settled. They came on a guaranteed basis and will only play for more than 2 hours." Lu Feng turned his head and glanced sideways. The three of them looked a little lazy when they were leaning on each other. The money was so profitable. Lu Feng always felt a little bit at a loss and said in a low voice, "Let's look at the price later. This is such a loss." I also told them. I didn't agree at first. They said that if it doesn't work, I can accompany them. "I can leave in the afternoon," Li Ziasi whispered. "How about you?" See? Lu Feng turned his head and glanced sideways again. The beautiful woman next to him raised her eyebrows at him, which was full of voltage. "Forget it, I still have to use up my strength, and I have to eat more at night." I can still calculate the economic calculation clearly. After Lu Feng finished speaking, he leaned back and stopped talking. Li Ziasi was speechless. He actually cared about food money. When the bus returned to the company, it was already past 12 noon. We had to eat first, and then we started sorting out today's data and formally planning the activities for the day after tomorrow at about 1 noon. In the big office, Lu Feng summoned all the managers and team leaders together and said to everyone, "The day after tomorrow's meeting is mainly about the return rate. There are more than 800 people today. How many more can come the day after tomorrow? The return rate on Tuesday is low. At 90%, we have to find a reason. This event will be completed on Tuesday, and another one will be held on Thursday. For this activity on Thursday, we will no longer give out any vouchers. Thursday is the most critical. If the return rate on Thursday is less than 70%, it is average. If it is less than 60%, it is failed. Today and Tuesday, I paid them to come and listen to me. Thursday is free. It is used to verify how many people have listened. Everyone must also learn to cooperate and watch more of my state on stage. A concept will be proposed on Thursday, called GFN concept, to allow these people to become our agents. As for how many can be converted, it depends on the specific situation. Everyone has been busy doing activities in the past 2 days. We must also pay close attention to the corporate background, especially the corporate culture, and give the company a sense of hierarchy. What is a sense of hierarchy? It is to let these people understand our company and develop from the company. The process, scale, employee culture, company philosophy, even factories, future plans, etc. must have the past, present, and future of the company. The past must be difficult, the present must be grand, and the future must be full of imagination. We will not do any encouragement, because no one in this world is convinced by others, they all convince themselves, so we must provide them with a convince yourself with your own reasons. Let them believe what we want them to believe, and think that it is what they actively believe. This is the layering of corporate culture. That's all. Let's go to work first. Lu Feng clapped his hands and told everyone to disperse. Everyone returned to their posts. Lu Feng stood there and thought about it for a while. After all, this was the first game and there couldn't be any problems. It was necessary to create an information cocoon for the people who came today. He walked upstairs, knocked on the door and entered the office of Manager Lu of the marketing department. "Mr. Lu, what's the matter with you?" When Manager Lu saw Lu Feng come in, he was slumped on the chair to rest, but he hurriedly stood up. "Can you contact the media in the farmers market and wholesale supermarket?" Lu Feng asked him, in other words, which newspapers, magazines, etc. in that area are the most widely spread. Manager Lu looked embarrassed. How did he know this? He had been busy working for such a long time. This kind of information was not accessible to foreigners during this period of time. Not sure. Call and ask. If you can't get the answer, go to the area and ask the nearby residents. Before 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I want the specific media and contact information, Lu Feng said to him and left directly. Manager Lu sighed, looking quite stressed. Before he came, he felt that he was on the same level as Mr. Lu's subordinates. Compared with Mr. Zhu and others, wasn't one person lower than 10,000 people? Unexpectedly, he was busier than before, and he was not very adaptable to Lu Feng's rhythm. Sometimes he would suddenly ask questions that were not part of his work. Now Manager Lu remembered what his boss said to him when he was having dinner before leaving. Don't feel comfortable with Mr. Zhu and Mr. Wei. He had seen Mr. Zhu following behind Mr. Lu. Mr. Lu turned around and asked, oversees the situation of the market and how we view the international situation. Mr. Zhu was immediately confused. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1006. Latest website. Manager Lu didn't want to think so much and hurriedly organized people to inquire around. After a rare break, Lu Feng took off his suit jacket when he returned to the office, washed his hair, leaned on the chair and lit a cigarette. The most accident-prone thing now is the last time. If the attraction of money is lost, how many people will be willing to come? The living expenses of this group of people are also a problem. After all, there are some people who have problems with their daily lives. In this case, even if he wants to sell goods to Jia Feng, he may be powerless. Lu Feng thought about solving this problem for them. In the evening, Manager Lu came back with a piece of information in his hand and placed it on Lu Feng's table. They asked many people and found employees from several newspapers here and invited them to drink coffee. I spent some money and got this information. The largest circulation newspaper there is the Real-Time News. This newspaper mainly makes up news, and they are all about bizarre things. People will read them as stories. It also publishes things like job hunting, blind dates, and who lost their dog. For this kind of miscellany, the worst-selling newspapers in that area are financial newspapers. Manager Lu recalled, as for TV programs, they are mainly TV series, mainly video channels. Some restricted TV series and movies have the highest ratings, while interviews are the least. Entertainment is the main focus. Lu Feng flipped through the 2 pages. Typical of the slum characteristics, he was not interested in international, financial, or professional news at all. On the contrary, he paid the most attention to entertainment, part-time workers, cheap food, and short-term profit-related jobs. Contact this newspaper. We want to publish the article. At the same time, contact the film and television channels to see if they can broadcast an advertisement of mine in the middle of the TV series. If the price is too expensive, forget it. It is mainly newspapers, and the remaining 2 newspapers will also go get in touch. Lu Feng handed the folder in his hand to manager Lu and thought about it for a moment. Since they like to hunt for novelties, he should cater to them. I'll give you a manuscript tonight, and I'll send it out this way. After manager Lu left, Lu Feng started busy writing the manuscript and would not let others write it. He was still afraid of trouble, so he had to do this kind of thing himself. Lu Feng picked up the pen and couldn't remember the words for a while. He thought about it for a while and then wrote the title, Poor Billionaire Comes to Britain. The whole article is written around the family story, how Lu Feng was bullied in the past, looked down upon by others, and looked down upon by his bosses and superiors. Then he wrote that he understood something mysterious, became rich overnight, and after spending money to enjoy it, he felt that the rich life was too boring. He wanted to help the poor all over the world. As long as he listened to Lu Feng's class, you can get rich instantly. Not only does it cost no money to attend the class, but it also gives you gifts. At the end, it is written that the wealthy people on Wall Street heard that Lu Feng had such a way to make a fortune and invited him to Wall Street. The CEO of Morgan wanted to become his disciple. Merrill Lynch Capital fought with the CEO of Goldman Sachs Group to meet Lu Feng. Bear Stearns, the boss, took advantage of the darkness to climb over the wall and lay on the window on the 14th floor to ask for advice. Lambert of Goldman Sachs even knelt down at the door of the hotel and cried bitterly just to see Lu Feng. After writing this last paragraph for several thousand words, Lu Feng put down his pen with a happy face and breathed a long sigh of relief and said, "It's so cool." The sun was setting in the west, and the sunset outside the window was extremely beautiful. Lu Feng let manager Lu take away the manuscript in his hand. He would use this article as a model to publish more in the next few days. The TV station responded that the price was too expensive and they had given up. While Lu Feng was eating dinner, he was still thinking about getting some start-up capital for these people. After much thought, he still had to go find John. Putting down his chopsticks, Lu Feng decided not to have dinner and returned to the office to call John. After the call was connected, the other end asked, "Who is it?" "Hello, John, how have you been lately?" Lu Feng said into the phone. "It's me, your old friend, Lu Feng from GFN Electronics. It's you. I heard that you have arrived in London. Why don't you call me? I can do my best to serve as a landlord." John on the other end of the phone was quite hypocritically polite. "I'm busy, right? I'm free tonight. Let's have dinner together," Lu Feng asked. John frowned slightly, thinking about what he was going to do. He knew from the first day Lu Feng came here that he basically knew everything he had done in the past 2 days. After all, they had so much money here, it was impossible not to care. What's more, John is the first person responsible. "Did you encounter any difficulties?" John asked. "No, everything is going well. The work here is much easier than I thought. I believe that in less than a year, the European market will bring huge profits to GFN Electronics, no less than $300 million per year." Lu Feng's voice was very determined. If John hadn't known what he had been doing these days, he would have believed his lies. John didn't want to eat this meal. He must have something to do with him. Now that he has invested so much, it would be inappropriate to go inside. But he also wanted to sit down and talk about Lu Feng's ideas, which made him feel a little depressed. "Okay, let's book it at Carrier Restaurant." After John told Lu Feng the address, he hung up the phone. Lu Feng asked Manager Lu and Manager Li to make work arrangements for the evening. He went downstairs and took the car straight to the restaurant. This was a 24-hour Western restaurant. The decoration was not high-end. It looked like a Chinese restaurant at most. Upscale restaurant. After entering, he was led into the private room by a waiter. Before John came, Lu Feng ordered the meal first. A few minutes later, the door to the room was pushed open and John walked in. His eyes fell on Lu Feng and he said politely, "Mr. Lu, we meet again. Isn't that right?" "Oh, you are getting more and more handsome," Lu Feng smiled and praised a few times. John's heart skipped a beat when he heard this compliment. It seemed like what happened today was not a big deal. We sat down and chatted about some daily things, whether or not we were used to coming here, eating, drinking, and other things. As the steaks and other dishes were served, we opened a bottle of red wine and talked about business. "Mr. Lu, I won't judge some of your business strategies, but for now, your business layout is not very good. Cooperating with major dealers and channel partners can display your products in more countries in a short time." In front of users, John tried not to sound harsh. "I just think that your current efficiency is a bit inefficient. We can improve the speed and start business activities in another way." Lu Feng put a piece of beef into his mouth and chewed it and said, "The plan I have now is very good, and I also spent a lot of money to hire a consultant. It's very powerful. Don't worry, the directors may not be included in this year's semi-annual report. The Bureau is satisfied, but the annual report is definitely eye-catching. Mr. Lu, some things cannot be said out loud. Even if you are engaged in direct sales, you still need to quickly establish a sales route, the target group of the product, and product positioning." John really didn't want to speak too harshly. "I know, I will work hard. Now, there is a problem in front of me. Let me tell you, once this matter is solved, sales will skyrocket within half a year. I guarantee you." Lu Feng raised his head and stared. Looking at John, he said, "If I can't do it, I'll walk head first." John looked at Lu Feng longingly, put down the knife and fork in his hand, took a deep breath and said, "No one wants to see you walk away head first. I just want to see profits. Schroeder's group is not my family, and I also have achievements. I hope Mr. Lu won't play tricks on me. I'm not kidding you. You solved this problem for me. I guarantee you 10,000%. And I'm telling you, this matter may bring you a lot of benefits," Lu Feng said seriously. "Okay, tell me what the problem is, and I will try my best to help you solve it personally." John reluctantly compromised. "Does Schroeder Group have a loan business?" Lu Feng asked. "We are an investment group, and finance is another subsidiary group." "Are you short of money?" John looked at Lu Feng and felt a little suspicious. Could this grandson want to borrow some money from Europe and run away? "I'm not short of money, but the brothers and sisters under me are very short of money," Lu Feng said solemnly. "I need to help them get a loan. It doesn't need to be too much, just enough for a year and a half of living expenses. Let's see if we can do it for a while and try to get the interest rate as low as possible." Your brothers and sisters, John couldn't figure it out. Lu Feng was so rich, why wouldn't he want to help his brothers and sisters? "That's right, but if it's not my relatives, it's the people I held the event for that day. As long as I give them living expenses, I can make them sell goods for me for free," Lu Feng said with great certainty. "I will help you sell goods for free without any salary." John's forehead was full of question marks. How could this be possible? We are not fools. We would sell goods to him without making a penny. Right. Every time I communicate with you, I regret investing in you. Really, Lu? John's face turned ugly, and he stared at Lu Feng and said, "Are you insulting the IQ of the British? No matter which country you are from, people from any country are the same in front of me. Let me tell you simply, I will create a dream of getting rich, give this dream to them for free, and then create successful people as examples, and then spread it among the people. 1 pass to 10, 10 to 100, Lu Feng briefly introduced. MLM, John asked, squinting his eyes. No. Direct sales, from a legal perspective, there won't be any problems, because we actually have the goods, and we actually get commissions. Everyone is an independent agent, but I have a lot of agents. That's all, Lu Feng said seriously. John kept shaking his head. He couldn't imagine that Lu Feng had brought this set of things to Europe. Last year, some pyramid schemes had come to Europe one after another, and relevant laws were also being formulated. However, according to the definition of pyramid schemes, his set of things did not count. However, if he gets a loan for those poor people and cannot find a lower level agent, then the life this person will face will be catastrophic. They already have a very hard life. If you do this, won't your conscience feel uncomfortable? You can make money if you have a conscience, but you can make more if you lose your conscience. Lu Feng reached forward and poked his neck, whispering, they are still based on your performance, you choose it yourself. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1007. Latest website. John said that it was not easy for these poor people, but he was absolutely unwilling to do something for these people at the expense of his own interests. Loans are just routine operations for you. To whom is a loan not a loan, Lu Feng said to him, what's more, your financial company also has its own performance indicators. You can raise the threshold appropriately, for example. With a house and car as collateral, the funds don't need to be too much, just enough for their living expenses. John breathed a long sigh of relief, took out a cigarette from his pocket and lit one, thinking about this matter in his mind, but if there were hundreds or thousands of people like Lu Feng, it wouldn't be a big deal. What he fears most is that Lu Feng's endless demands, getting loans for these people today and asking for other things tomorrow, are like a bottomless pit. It's not that I can't promise you this. The interest rate must not be low, and it can take a longer time at most. John pondered, it doesn't matter what I say about this matter. At most, it is a fight with the financial group. Say hello, if they are willing to do it, then do it. If they don't want to do it, I can't help it. I have an idea here. You can cooperate with us and launch a loan contract for about 2 years. As long as they repay it within 1 year, they will not pay a penny of interest, but the repayment within 1 year needs to be signed by us. Lu Feng said towards John said, we have many ways to not sign and let them pay liquidated damages. We claim to be a zero-interest loan. I will propose this plan to them. John had finished eating and looked at Lu Feng and said, this is the last time. If you make other requests from me after a while, don't blame me for being rude. We are an investment company. It's not a nanny company, we will help you every step of the way. Oops. Oops, you said this out of the blue and with a straight face, why should we too be outspoken? Lu Feng smiled and handed him a cigarette, lit it and said, we are all mutually exclusive. Yes, if you have any difficulties in the future, you can come to me for business matters, and even more for private matters. Brother, I can help 100% of the time. More friends means more paths. John found some comfort in his heart. After all, Lu Feng still had some energy. He was at best a high-level wage earner, who would be useful in the future. When we walked out of the restaurant, it was already 10 o'clock in the evening. Before getting in the car, John just said wait for news from me and walked away. Lu Feng doesn't care whether he can accomplish it or not. He will put forward this concept at the conference the day after tomorrow and use the Schroeder Group to endorse himself. At that time, ordinary people will feel that he is from the Schroeder Group. Even if he loses money, Schroeder will cover it. For the poor, any risk will be infinitely magnified by them, so there can be no risk, it must be a guaranteed profit after their calculation. Back at the apartment, other employees had just gotten off work. The 3-story apartment downstairs had been rented out. 2 people shared a room. Lu Feng lived in a larger apartment upstairs. The room opposite had always been empty. He came back today. She found that the door to the room was open, Li Ziaxi's suitcase was placed at the door, and she was standing inside blowing her hair. "Why did you move here?" Lu Feng asked, a little puzzled. "Hello, Mr. Lu," Li Ziaxi said hello and explained, "the downstairs is full. There are a few local employees who need to stay temporarily today, so we asked us to free up a room and arrange it for me here. If you need anything, I can take care of you." Lu Feng guessed that it might be what the 2 managers were thinking, so he didn't say anything. He had met too many women like this over the years, and he was really tired of playing this kind of game. If she is still in the same old routine as those before and has no new tricks, then forget it. The next day, real-time news reports of the new day were delivered to every household. The headlines on the front page were several photos of Lu Feng, and a character feature was opened. There was a knock on Louise's door, and newspapers were stuffed into her newspaper box. "Morning, Louise," the courier said and turned to leave. The door was opened, and Louise came out and said hurriedly, "Wait a minute, I want to ask, can this newspaper be changed? Can it be returned?" The courier glanced at the information book in his hand and said, "You ordered it for 1 year. This cannot be refunded. If you don't want to read it, it is also a good choice to wipe your butt. I wish you a happy life." "Thank you for your advice," Louise sighed and took the newspaper back. After closing the door, Louise made breakfast for her children first. Yesterday's interview was undoubtedly a failure. No employer was willing to hire a woman who brought her children to work. Louise tossed and turned and couldn't sleep last night. Selling the house and renting a house with a nanny had become an inevitable choice. After finally feeding the children, she ate simply by herself and picked up the newspaper to read. The headline was a photo of Lu Feng. She was stunned for a moment and started to look through it. After reading it carefully, she felt a little excited. If she really went by the news above, this Oriental man was here just for her. Hope arose in Louise's heart. She didn't want to sell this house. If she could really make money by participating in this event, then she would be participating earlier than others. Sitting there, Louise remembered what Lu Feng said on the stage that day. As long as they could seize the opportunity, they would be able to live and feed well in a short time, because they were the first batch of people to enter the door of wealth and would definitely get it. More wealth. This is how people's hearts are. Just now, Louise was still thinking about finding a job, as long as it could support herself and her children. Now she has begun to imagine that if she is lucky enough, she will buy a big villa and let her children live. Go to the best school and get a better car. Then I was thinking that if I was even luckier, I would change to a manor, so that my children could bring their classmates to play at home. I would also change to a convertible sports car, and I could also find a few more handsome boys, or some handsome star. Poor people spend 90% of their time fantasizing about getting rich, and the remaining 10% of their time complaining about others. Louise was not the only one who started to fantasize after seeing this newspaper. Most people would think that they were trying to convince themselves to believe everything Lu Feng said. Even if there are some obvious flaws, what if? Yes, what if, just in case, I don't know how many people have been killed by this hope. People who had attended the conference began to inquire about GFN electronics from people around them, and people who went together began to get in touch, forming a small circle, constantly adding certainty to the matter. What Lu Feng wants is this effect. Everyone forms a circle and forms a barrier to the outside world. To outsiders, these people seem to be no different from mentally ill people, but the people in the circle believe in everything they do. For a whole day, all the company's work was centered around the second event tomorrow. It was still the same place, but this time there were some minor adjustments, and Lu Feng was even more arrogant. In the afternoon, more than 50 people gathered in the large conference room and muttered to each other. Everyone's face was full of exhaustion. They were really tired during this period. Firstly, they were not familiar with the place and there were some things it was not easy to do, and secondly, there were too many chores and no specific process was formed. Everyone complained a lot because their income was similar to that of employees at the headquarters. During this period, they worked more than 13 hours a day. Lu Feng walked in. Seeing everyone lazily, and knowing that they were all tired, he stepped forward and said, "Everyone, please be quiet. I know everyone is tired. I just communicated with the two managers about the preparations. It's almost time. I'll get off work after this meeting. Let's go to bed early and face tomorrow in a full state." As soon as these words came out, everyone at the scene suddenly became energetic. Tomorrow is still 9 o'clock, but the process has been changed. You will no longer enter from the stage, but from the entrance of the venue. I will not sit in the car at that time, but stand on the roof of the car and ask everyone to come. One thing, make sure you are in good spirits tomorrow. When facing those who come, you must show envy, smile, have a spirit of service, and treat them as distinguished guests. We must have 5-star service, deliver things with both hands, and smile, so that they feel they are respected. Also, if someone from them communicates with you, you must reveal the Schroeder Group's affairs during the chat, that is, tell them in a low voice that the Schroeder Group is now begging to cooperate with me, and as long as you join this as a big family, if you become my brother or sister, you can get a huge loan with 0 interest. Remember, they must be the ones asking you for some inside information. And during the event, your attitude must not be tough. You must have a good service attitude and behave like a waiter. The people below started to feel a little dissatisfied. They were so tired and they came all the way to work as waiters. "Do you understand everything?" Lu Feng asked. "Clear. Okay, get off work." After Lu Feng finished speaking, he looked at Li Ziasi, waved to her and asked, "Is the model okay this time?" "It's definitely no problem this time. I found 4, so I won't go up." "It's a bit cold," Li Ziasi said awkwardly. "Okay, think more about other details and don't make any mistakes in the details. Also, newspapers and media have to publish when they should," Lu Feng said solemnly. "Tomorrow is crucial." Lu Feng's actions in the past few days did not make much splash to the outside world. After all, they were small-scale activities. Even so, a newspaper about GFN was placed on the table of the Siemens branch. The people at Beko no longer wanted to see it anymore. They even felt that their previous nervousness towards Lu Feng seemed ridiculous. What was all this about? The president of the Siemens branch threw the newspaper into the trash can after reading it. He told the person in the secretary's office not to waste his time by putting this kind of junk information on his desk in the future. He also told the headquarters that this kind of person is not worthy of Siemens' attention. Latest website. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1008. Latest website. What Lu Feng has done recently is indeed a bit unsavory. Not only Siemens, but also Beko and Hailey have paid less attention to GFN. In their eyes, Lu Feng seemed to come to the European market to fool investors. The things he did were wandering in the gray area, a bit like pyramid schemes. If you want to do big business, this method is self-destructive. Even if he succeeds, one of these companies will report it, Europe will make money and Europe will fine him, and the other will want to take it home. The busy time passed very quickly. Lu Feng was particularly happy that there were no outside interruptions. It was best for him not to be disturbed by anyone and to completely forget about himself. In this way, he can free up his hands and feet to do things. Lu Feng woke up before 7 o'clock the next morning. After washing, he reviewed the process of today's meeting in his mind, and briefly organized today's speech. A simple meeting was held at 8 o'clock, and after dinner we rushed to the hotel. After 8 o'clock, there was already a sea of people outside the hotel. As the time entered March, the weather here began to warm up. Many people gathered together under the morning sun to exchange news they had seen in the past 2 days. The more they talked, the more enthusiastic they became. At the last party, everyone was dressed in ordinary clothes, with earth-colored faces and lifeless eyes. But today is different. The faces of these people are full of excitement, with smiles all over their faces, and they may even shout excitedly, with their eyes shining, overflowing with color. Some of them even put on clean suits and stood upright. It didn't look like they were attending a low-end event to give away shopping coupons, but more like an aristocratic gathering. The mood was contagious and the gloom in everyone's hearts was swept away. Empty, she was too poor to open the pot, he hadn't eaten all day, and she was in debt, but now they both had a bright future. At 8:40, the door of the hotel venue opened, and 2 rows of GFN employees in suits stepped out, full of momentum. On both sides of the queue, 1 meter apart, everyone bowed slightly and said in pure English, "Welcome to you. Come, noble guest, the door to wealth has been opened." This scene, this momentum, made some people who had never seen the world tremble with excitement. Those people wearing suits, windbreakers, and evening clothes were wise and walked in with their chests puffed out, and the others followed suit and walked in. When you enter the door, you still have the same registration book as last time. Just find your name from last time and put a check mark on the back. It is relatively simple and easy to count. With everyone entering the venue, all the more than 800 people from last time have arrived. You must know that today is a working day, which is enough to prove that Lu Feng's speech last time was attractive, and an additional 200 people were added, reaching a scale of 1,000 people. At 8:50, Sean brought 2 assistants backstage. He could predict what kind of scene it would be like today, but he didn't expect to see Lu Feng backstage. "Where is Mr. Lu?" Sean asked Manager Lu. "We're getting ready, we're about to appear." "Where is he preparing?" Huang Mao asked curiously. "He will enter the venue in a different way today." Manager Lu thought for a moment and said, "A more shocking way." The 3 of them were all confused, wondering what the impact of different appearance methods would be. Sean stood at the entrance to the stage and glanced down the stage. The same people were present today. What surprised him was that these people were all in high spirits, as if they had been given a shot of blood. They were whispering to each other and looking at each other, full of excitement. Are these people crazy? Just because of the 20-pound voucher, Gao Naji said in disbelief, are they all going to work if they don't go to work? Something's wrong, Sean shook his head. There must be something he didn't know about. He was not in this state after his last speech. In the audience, a woman in her 40s asked the staff standing beside her, "I would like to ask, will Mr. Lu pay us?" "Don't worry, Mr. Lu will solve all the problems you want to solve," the staff member replied very eloquently. "I just want to ask. I read in the newspaper yesterday that Mr. Lu can help us make money, right? But we don't have any capital. If he gives us money, I am willing to follow him," the woman asked eagerly. This question quickly attracted the attention of the people around them. They were not fools. Everything required start-up capital. Just because these people were poor didn't mean they were brainless. The staff member glanced around and whispered, "I can tell you an inside message. Schroeder Group learned of Mr. Lu's arrival and is willing to provide you with an interest-free loan. They are asking Mr. Lu to give you a loan. Mr. Lu is still considering the loan, because he originally planned to lend it to you out of his own pocket." "Oh, I bought it?" The woman covered her mouth in surprise, her whole body was excited, and she was almost moved to tears. What kind of spirit, what kind of power, a person who was begged by capital was willing to help a pauper like herself like this? She felt unprecedented. Pay attention, even the boy who pursued himself at the age of 18 could not do this well. The news spread like a hurricane in the venue, and everyone took a shot in the arm. They really had great luck. Under the leadership of such a person, why worry about not being rich? At 9 o'clock, the host stepped onto the stage on time, picked up the microphone and said, "Dear brothers and sisters, we meet again. I am so happy to see you again. I believe that after listening to Mr. Liu's speech last time, everyone has learned something, and today I will teach you the second lesson on wealth. What is wealth? Wealth is water. It flows from rivers to lakes, from lakes to rivers, from rivers to the sea, from the sea to evaporation into the sky, and then spreads all over the world again, over and over again. As long as you look for its laws, you can master the code of wealth." Okay, I won't waste everyone's time. Next, everyone stands up, applauds, and welcomes the head of wealth, Mr. Liu Feng. After the host finished speaking, the loud music started playing, and the staff took the lead in clapping. Everyone was already familiar with the routine, and they stood up and clapped their hands. Only the newcomer looked a little green, looking at the people around him as if he was mentally ill. Everyone was looking at the stage, but the entrance door opened. A row of men in black suits ran in first, looking like bodyguards. Then the Rolls-Royce drove in, and Liu Feng was not in the car, but on the roof of the car. Liu Feng was dressed in a windbreaker of a business elite, standing on the roof of the Rolls-Royce, with a cigar in his mouth and a gentleman's hat on his head. He took off the hat with one hand and raised it to both sides. There are 4 slender models on both sides of the car. At this moment, Liu Feng is riding a Rolls-Royce, showing his infinite arrogance. There are many people riding in Rolls-Royce, but Liu Feng is definitely the first person to stand in Rolls-Royce. "Brothers, sisters," Liu Feng shouted in a deep voice to both sides, "what do we want? Suddenly rich." The sound of the entire audience overwhelmed the powerful music. "Clap your hands together, cheer yourself up," Liu Feng shouted loudly, and after speaking, he took the lead and stood on the roof of the car and started clapping. Sean was stunned and stood there dumbfounded. The car stopped in front of the stage. Liu Feng jumped directly onto the roof cover and walked onto the stage. He took the microphone and said, "What is a Rolls-Royce? In my eyes, it is just an ordinary car. It is our stepping stone to success, and it won't be long before it proves your success, because this brand will be proud of you owning it." Liu Feng glanced around the scene, saw Louise with her child, and said, "I am very happy to see you all again. I believe that everyone who is doing this is a smart person who can grasp wealth. I made a decision that changed the course of my life. Last time I shared with you the world economic trend. We are standing on the forefront of the world economy. Today I will share with you a story called Jia Feng. As long as you can understand this story, you will succeed. Please sit. Everyone knows that I used to be very poor. How did I become successful? I was a canner, and I was still a small workshop at that time. There was a notorious canner in our local area. He suppressed me. He told me, "You are like this. You can't do anything in your small workshop like me in this life." I said, "I'll make you bankrupt in 3 months." Brothers, I was just a small business owner at the time, so I dared to say this and do whatever I was told. My family didn't support me and thought I was fooling around. My wife wanted to divorce me, and no one thought highly of me. Fortunately, I'm so popular. Well, I have several good brothers, and they understand me. That night, I collected tens of thousands of dollars and gave it to me. One of the brothers had no money. He went back and sold his father's coffin. He took the money and put it in my hand and said, "Brother Feng, if you lose, My father will be gone when the time comes. But just dig a hole and bury him. I told you not to be afraid. When your father dies, I will invite the best mage to bring him back to life. The cannery has money. I'm not afraid, because I have brothers, and you have to be loyal when you go out to work. If others help you, you have to remember it in your heart. A drop of kindness will be repaid by a spring. 3 months later, the cannery was taken over by me. I was defeated. The boss was puzzled and asked me why I had so much money to go against him. I pointed to a picture on the wall of my office with the words brother written on it. In this world, no matter how rich you are, it is better to have friends. The fundamental reason why you are poor is that you have too few brothers. Brothers and friends will bring you opportunities and help you, and you will get up. From now on, I swear that if anyone becomes my brother, Lu Feng, I will never treat him badly even if I starve to death. In this way, I have a factory, and then I have the support of noble people, and I meet a leader. That person, he is very arrogant. He is a leader. That night when I went drinking, I stood up at the dinner table and drank 3 glasses of wine in a row without saying anything. I told him that I respect you for these 3 glasses of wine. He looked at me with a serious face, picked up the glass and drank directly. He told me that he liked my temper and we would be brothers from now on. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1009. Latest website. Love and Justice. My favorite person is a grateful person, because only grateful people can do things well. There is a saying that success is reserved for those who are prepared. So someone tell you, what do you need to prepare? Lu Feng scanned the scene with bright eyes and said in a deep voice, sincerity, kindness, and friendship. Some people may disagree and say that it is preparation ability. What is ability? Is ability something that comes from preparation? Absolutely not. Ability is something that is tempered. As long as I push you to that position, you can do it. What you lack is an opportunity. Are those rich people born rich? Absolutely not. They were once poor, but they just seized an opportunity and rushed forward. Therefore, the opportunity is now in front of you. You have missed the opportunity you were born in before. Opportunities to study, get married, and age, this will be the last chance. Lu Feng kept talking to the people present about the last chance, as if they would die like this if they missed this hard work. Many people in the room stared nervously at the stage, not daring to take a breath. I believe that when you live to this age, you have a clear understanding of things in the world, the warmth of people, and you know in your heart that you missed your 20s. You can say that you were young and playful and missed your 30s. You say you are not kind to others, but at this moment, what else do you have to lose? The most fundamental reason for poverty is timidity, fear of loss, and always feeling that the junk in your hands will be taken away from you. Brothers, life has reached rock bottom. You have nothing to lose. Some people would rather keep it for the rest of their lives. I'm not willing to give it a try if I want to live a better life than a beggar. Your greatest advantage at the moment is poverty. You have nothing to lose, you can only gain. Don't think about what will happen tomorrow. That is tomorrow's thing. What you need to do is to do well today and live a wonderful life today. Only by living towards death can you be full of vitality. When you are afraid of danger, you are surrounded by people all the time. It's dangerous, you could go bankrupt at any time and end up living on the streets. Fight. Fight with fate, fight with yourself. Tell your poor self, go to hell. Why do those people have money? Why do they drive luxury cars and live in mansions? Are you really so bad? No, I tell you as a billionaire, you are very good. It's a pity that I don't dare to do it, I don't dare to take that step. I will always hide in my own warm place like a beggar and survive. When the opportunity comes, I will be afraid of everything. Let me tell you something, Everything in this world has a probability. If your probability of success is 1 in 10, then every time you fail, you are actually getting closer to success. Failure is the mother of success, let alone a brother like me helping you. Why are you talking about failure? So, you are destined to succeed. When the live music started playing, Lu Feng waved to the audience and said into the microphone, "Stand up, clap your hands for yourself who is about to succeed, and tell me, what do you want?" Suddenly rich. The sound resounded throughout the venue, deafening, and everyone clapped their hands wildly. Sean stood at the stage and watched this scene. He was sure that Lu Feng had firmly controlled the minds of everyone present and only needed guidance, so that these people can do what he wants. After several minutes of clapping, Louise's hands were already red, and she was panting. She looked at the stage with burning eyes, not paying any attention to the child next to her. The time has reached 11 o'clock, the music stopped, Lu Feng picked up the microphone and said, "Time flies very quickly. Success is not something you talk about, but something you do. I originally planned to bring success to everyone today, but there is not enough time, so 2 days later, I will still be here, and I will bring you products that help me succeed. A few good products are the best key to open the market." Over the years, Jiafeng has opened factories all over the world. It is a large international enterprise with hundreds of thousands of employees. We want to gain a foothold in Europe. Next we plan to invest 10 billion to promote it, and now more than a dozen banks and large financial institutions in Europe want to cooperate with us. I have been really busy during this period. I rejected all their requests. My brothers and sisters have not gotten rich yet and it is not their turn. It is time to turn things around and let my dear brothers and sisters get rich first. Stand up. Many people in the audience were so excited when they heard this that their eyes were red and they wiped away tears. Finally, someone with a conscience found out about it. I never thought that I would be able to wait until this day. Yes. Those people are already too rich, and it's finally their turn. God's eyes are open. Lu Feng put down the microphone, waved to everyone and walked towards the audience. The host came up and started arranging the exit, asking everyone to go to the door to collect the vouchers, and informed that the event the day after tomorrow was no voucher. Such a huge opportunity is more precious than any voucher of any denomination. Backstage, Lu Feng was sitting there drinking water. He was really tired after this activity. Manager Lu came over with 2 folders and said, "Mr. Lu, today's data has increased. Can we do it next time? I don't know if I keep it." Lu Feng took a look and saw that the attendance rate of 97% was very high. How much of this was attracted by vouchers was unknown. Sean walked over, as if he had just recovered from the roar of the mountains and the tsunami. He looked at Lu Feng and his eyes were a little dazed. He never dreamed that this young man was so seductive. He went to analyze Lu Feng on the stage. Every sentence he said was absolutely correct and made sense, but what he wanted to do was wrong. The honey has been spread out in these 2 games, and the harvest will be harvested in the next game. How much do you think these people can help you? Sean sat down, lit a cigarette, handed one to Lu Feng, and asking them to help you sell goods for free. Without brand power and enough endorsements, it won't sell. Lu Feng looked at the cigarette in his hand, then raised his head and glanced at Sean. Is this a kind of recognition? He used to be dismissive of himself. You just want to say that these poor people have no value. I will make them valuable. What's more, I don't intend to let them sell goods on the street. Everyone has their own interpersonal relationships. Who doesn't have one around them? A rich friend. Lu Feng looked at him and said, "Without brands, no advertising, and no sales channels, there is another way, which is called trust sales. There are always some people in this world who are willing to unconditionally trust the people around them, better than advertising. It's much stronger. Huang Mao felt a little unhappy when he saw Lu Feng's unruly look, and said, "Isn't your model just a pyramid scheme? Last year, 6 pyramid schemes were cracked down in Europe." "Hey? You can't say that. Be careful, I will sue you for defamation." "This is direct selling," Lu Feng stared at Huang Mao and said, "Be careful with your words. The core of MLM is that there is no product, and fundraising activities are carried out through person-to-person transmission. We are sellers, pay with one hand and deliver the goods with the other hand." Sean was feeling a little unsure at this moment. Looking at it over the past 2 days, Lu Feng was indeed very talented in this area. It didn't matter whether he was direct selling or not. What was important was that if he really succeeded in this path, there will be earth-shaking changes for the European sales market. It means that we can interrupt the monopoly of hypermarkets and find a completely different path. Aren't you afraid that Walmart's hypermarkets will come after you? Not to mention your competitors, the energy behind those companies will not let you go, Sean asked. Lu Feng took a sip of water, put the cup aside, knocked the ashes directly into the disposable water cup, and said unhurriedly, "I won't go out without 2 brushes, so that's it for today." Sean watched Lu Feng go away and wondered what his 2 brushes were. After returning to the company, continue to collect data, increase the information cocoon effect, and publish information on the media with the largest circulation in major regions. Lu Feng called John and urged him to contact Schroeder's financial group as soon as possible. It would be best to apply for a loan tomorrow. For this matter, Lu Feng also set up a department team to communicate with Schroeder, forcing them to move forward, otherwise large companies would be very slow to do things. There was a knock on the office door, and manager Lu walked in. During this time, he, a man in his 30s, had obvious fatigue on his face, and he was not used to such intense work. "Mr. Lu, are you looking for me?" Manager Lu asked. "Sit down," Lu Feng pointed to the chair in front of him and said, "Didn't I tell you once about finding a factory?" "Ah. This matter has not been settled yet." "What does the factory need to do?" Manager Lu asked in confusion. "Don't worry about this. It's not too urgent. Let's find a few suitable ones to prepare. The factory should be big. Rent it for half a day and allow us to take the team to visit and take photos." Lu Feng thought about it. He thought, "By the way, you should also pay attention to the helicopter rental company, which will be used later. A car like Rolls-Royce will not be able to impress them at the next large-scale conference. I'll pay more attention to this matter. I probably won't find it in 10 days and a half. After all, we're not that familiar here." Manager Lu asked, "Is there anything else?" "No, you are busy with your business." Everyone had returned home with £20 worth of vouchers, which they exchanged for vegetables and meat. Louise was cooking, with endless daydreams in her heart at the moment, and a smile unconsciously on her face. Siemens' spying work ended last time, but Mark still came here unexpectedly. He had a job, and he asked for leave today. He didn't know why he came back. He just felt that he was very relaxed after coming, and the fatigue from work had dissipated. He felt that he couldn't come in vain, so he called the Siemens branch again and said that he had participated in Jiafeng's new party. He could submit a child report. "No, the money will be transferred to your account in 2 days. You don't need to attend any of Jiafeng's gatherings, and you won't be charged any fees for this one. Do you understand?" Latest website.